Hi, I'm Christian Taylor and I'm the co-founder of My Sermon Notes. Today I'll be showing you how to create sermon notes to keep your congregation engaged. Once you've signed up for the trial and have the app downloaded on your phone, you're ready to get started with your first sermon note. Here's the full breakdown on using the sermon note editor. So once you've logged into the admin portal at portal.mysermonnotes.com, we're going to head over to the Sermons tab right here. And this is where we can add, edit, and delete sermons. Now you can see I've already got some sermons entered here, but I'm just going to click Add Sermon and show you how the editor works. So we're going to start with the title. I'll just put Sermon Title. Now, subtitle is really a multi-purpose field. It is optional. You can use it or you don't have to use it. So you may want to put a sermon series here if you've got like a 4-part series, or if you have a main scripture you're going to focus on, you can put it here as well. I'm just going to put subtitles so you'll be able to see what it looks like in the app. But again, if you do leave subtitle blank, it will just not show and you don't have to use it. Now, date given is important. This is when the sermon note is going to show up first for users in the app. So for example, say that I'm giving this sermon on Sunday and I'm entering it on Thursday, the week before, into the admin portal. I may not want people to see it today when I'm done entering it. I may want them to see it Sunday when I actually give the sermon. So you definitely want to make sure that you get the date given accurate to when you actually give your sermon. Now, one important thing to keep in mind here is that when you set the date given ahead like this, you will not be able to see the sermon in the app today. So if you want to actually preview it before the sermon on Sunday, you would want to set the date given to today, build your sermon, save it, go immediately check it on the app. If everything looks good, come back here and then set your date given to Sunday and save it again so people will not see it in the app. So I'm just going to leave it set to today, and that way we'll be able to see it when we're done editing. Now, tags will help people find this sermon later using the search feature. Tags are completely optional, and even without tags, they can still search based on the title, the subtitle, and the contents of the sermon. But if you have a particular phrase you want to make sure will definitely rank when they search, or will definitely come up, maybe it's about a particular topic, feel free to add those tags here. And to create a tag, we just hit enter or hit the comma key. So I'll just hit enter. So we're just going to leave these 3 tags and move on to our next field, which is video URL. Now, video URL is another optional field, and if you put any URL here, YouTube, Vimeo, live stream on your site, whatever you put here, it's going to show an orange video icon in the top right corner for users. So in this case, I'm just going to put youtube.com. So now we get to the drag and drop editor and where we actually build the points. And I'm just going to build a basic 3-point sermon, show you how I like to format it, and help you learn how the editor works. So first, we are going to add point number 1. I'll just say 1. This is the first point. Now, if you want to add a fill-in-the-blank note, all you do is highlight the word or phrase that you want to be a blank and click this fill-in-the-blank button. Now it's going to show that it's underlined. It will never reveal the answer or the word to the user. We just use this info to calculate how big to make the blank. But the user is never going to see this. They fill it out themselves, so you don't have to worry about giving that info to the user. So that's how you create a fill in the blank. We do have additional formatting options, including bold and italics. So I could make this bold. I could make it all bold and italics if I want to. So that gives you some flexibility there. Now I'm going to add a note under my first point and just say Scripture 1. And this is where we reach an important point here. So these checkboxes right here will determine whether there is an additional freeform note box underneath the point. So when we look at a sermon here, we see that there's these white boxes and they're infinitely expandable, and the user can take as many notes as they like in these white note boxes. So we highly recommend having one note box per point. So if you've got 3 lines here, see, we've got 2 lines. If we've got 2 lines as part of point number 1, then I would uncheck this right here and just have the note box under scripture number 1. So when we look on the app, it'll be 1. This is the first point, scripture 1, the white note box. So I'm going to, just to give you an idea of how that works, I'm going to add another note here and say, this is point 2. And I will highlight point. And then I'm going to add another note and say scripture 2. Maybe I want to make this italics. And I'm going to uncheck this. So hopefully you're starting to see a pattern here of really wanting the checkbox with the blank notes box to be on the last line of your point. So I'm going to illustrate this one more time here. I'm going to add a note and say, this is point 3. This time I'm going to make 3 the blank. And I'm going to say scripture 1. I'll make this bold. And then scripture 2. And in this case, I would uncheck these 2 and I would leave this one checked so that there is that white note box after my 3rd point. Now, what if you want to add some space in between these lines? So if you need to have some spacing between sections, you can click this Add Space button, and it will create a blank line. And you can drag this blank line wherever. You can actually drag and drop any of these points to reorganize them. So I'm going to just leave it like this right here. And once we have our basic outline together, I'm just going to click the Save button. And right now on my phone, I'm going to go over to the Notes tab here. And I'm going to hit the plus button in the top right corner. These notes that you're seeing right here are sermon notes that I've already taken as a user. So these are my existing notes. But I'm going to hit the plus button in the top right corner here. And we see the sermon I just created. Sermon title, subtitle. This is the blank point. So I'm going to tap this. And now you can really see the outline come together. So we have, this is the first point. And then see, because we have the box checked next to scripture 1, we have this additional notes box. My typing's a little bit sloppy today. Additional notes box. And we can hit enter. We can expand this as much as we want. Then we got point number 2. This is point 2. And you can see right here under point 3 where we added that blank line, you can see it just adds a little bit of padding, a little bit of space between the points if you wanted to separate it a little bit and create some extra space. And also take note of the orange video icon in the top right corner. I can tap that and then it'll take me right to youtube.com. You may remember we didn't put any kind of specific video to link to, but you just put your YouTube link or Vimeo or any page on your website to a live stream and it will take the user directly there. One thing to note is that we had our date given set to today to be able to see this sermon. So if I go back out of it here, you can see it's got today's date. Now, I could delete this. It's downloaded to my account since I tapped it, but I can actually delete this sermon. I can go back to the admin portal here and change the date given to Sunday and save it. And now when I hit the plus button on the app in the top right corner here, it's not going to show up. So that is something to keep in mind when you are editing and adding your sermon note, is to make sure that the date given is set to today if you want to preview it, and then go in and set date given to the actual date that you are giving the sermon and save it to make sure that users don't see it early. So one other feature that we offer is a printed paper version of the sermon notes. So we know that not everyone is going to use their phone. Some people would prefer to write their notes, and we do offer a feature to help with that. So we have this print function right here that I can click. And this right here is just going to adjust how much spacing is between each point. So if you've got maybe a lot of points in your sermon and you want to fit everything onto one page, you can decide how squished together things are, how spaced out they are. So I'm just going to leave this at medium, 5 lines, and click print. And it takes a little bit of time here to generate the PDF file. And here you can see we now have a PDF file of our sermon notes. I can go to this download icon and download a PDF file, and then I can launch this. And as you can see right here, we've got an 8.5 by 11 paper version of the sermon notes that we can print, and we can distribute to anyone who would rather take paper notes and not use the digital system. That's it. You're now ready to create your first sermon note outline for your church to enjoy. If you have any questions about the setup process, please email us at support@mysermonnotes.com. For more tutorials like this, visit help.mysermonnotes.com. Thanks for watching.